Today, we're talking about the woolly mammoth. You know the one, the giant furry tank of the Ice Age, the prehistoric Chewbacca with tusks. But here's the thing you probably don't know. The mammoth wasn't just a victim of a changing world. It was doomed from the very start, and the real reason is wilder than you think. First, let's picture this beast. Imagine a modern elephant, but give it a ridiculously thick winter coat, a pair of curving tusks long enough to be classified as weapons, and an attitude that says, "Yeah, I could flip your car, but I'm just too cold to bother." These giants roamed icy plains, stomping around like they owned the place, and hoovering up about 150 kilos of grass every single day. They were the undisputed kings of salad. But deep inside their massive, fuzzy bodies, a time bomb was ticking. Now, before we get to the big reveal, here are a few insane facts to set the scene. A mammoth's tusks could grow longer than your car, perfect for fighting off predators, digging for food under the snow, and probably accidentally poking their friends in the eye. They had built-in insulation so effective they were basically giant walking parkas. In fact, some mammoths found frozen in Siberia were so well preserved their hair still had its color. They communicated with deep, rumbling calls that probably sounded like a bass-boosted elephant trying to beatbox.
And here's the crucial part. Some small pockets of mammoths survived on tiny, isolated Arctic islands for thousands of years after the rest of their species had died out. And that isolation is the key to why they were truly doomed. All right, here it is. Forget the easy answers. Forget climate change. Forget humans with spears. While those things played a part, the mammoth's biggest enemy was its own DNA. They were doomed because their populations shrank so much that they fell into what scientists call a genetic meltdown. Here's how it went down. As the ice retreated and the world changed, mammoths got stranded. They became trapped on remote places like Wrangel Island in the Arctic. Their numbers plummeted from massive continent-spanning herds down to maybe a few hundred individuals. And when a species gets that small, you get one big problem: inbreeding. And inbreeding leads to genetic disaster. By studying the DNA of these last surviving mammoths, scientists found a horror show of mutations. Their genes for smell were breaking down, their immune systems were becoming weak and ineffective. They were developing weird, silky, patchy fur, the prehistoric equivalent of a terrible haircut that offers zero protection from the cold. And maybe worst of all, they were suffering from infertility. Imagine trying to survive in one of the harshest environments on Earth while your own genetic code is glitching like a busted video game. One researcher said these last mammoths were so genetically damaged, they probably smelled like garbage because the genes that produce scent-based hormones were broken. How do you find a mate or avoid a predator when you smell like a dumpster fire? Their population became too small, too weak, and too riddled with mutations. Eventually, they just couldn't go on. They didn't just die out because the world changed. They died out because their own biology broke down faster than they could adapt. They were born into a long, slow countdown they could never escape. So, in the end, the mammoth wasn't conquered by ice, or heat, or hunters. It was defeated from within, from the moment its world shrank and its gene pool collapsed, turning it into a beautiful, furry, genetic tragedy. The question now is, if scientists managed to clone one tomorrow, would you be brave enough to pet it?